Does Google, through this phone, know that I have moved here and moved over to the left?
Money is just money. They took 8.5 years of our life. We can't get that back.
I just feel like a captain of a sinking ship where I'm trying to bail out water with a cup.
A Virginia jury has recommended a life sentence for James Alex Fields Jr., who drove through a white nationalist counter-protest in Charlottesville last year, killing Heather Heyer. On top of that, the jury suggests an additional 419 years and fines for injuring other protesters and fleeing the scene. With Yellow Vest protests continuing across France, Egyptian authorities are taking precautions against any similar anti-government protests in their country by restricting the sale of yellow vests.
The wall is a part of border security. You can't have very good border security without the wall, no.
The experts say you can do border security without a wall, which is wasteful and doesn't solve the problem.
It totally solves the problem. I don't think we really disagree so much. I also know that, Nancy's in a situation where it's not easy for her to talk right now, and I understand that.
Please don't characterize the strength that I bring to this meeting.
Elections have consequences, Mr. President.
That's right. And that's why the country is doing so well.
And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And I'm going to shut it down for border
But we
security.
believe you shouldn't shut it down.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Google's Sundar Pichai became the latest tech boss to be dragged before Congress today. This time, it was the House Judiciary Committee's turn to drill a Silicon Valley CEO.
We use a robust methodology to reflect what is being said about any given topic at any particular time. And we try to do it objectively using a set of rubrics.
2 years of tech scandals, Russian manipulation, Nazis on social media, the mass exploitation of user data have made it clear that lawmakers need to do something to regulate big tech. But as today's hearing reminded us, some members of Congress may lack the basic knowledge to do that.
What does methodology have to do with the fact that 96% of the references to Trump are from liberal media?
Have you considered having an online school that people could go to with a Google rep and you could kind of log in and kind of ask questions?
I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who picked up her phone, and up on there pops a picture of her grandfather. And I'm not going to say into the record what kind of language was used around that picture of her grandfather, but I'd ask you, how does that show up on a 7-year-old's iPhone who's playing a kid's game?
Congressman, iPhone is made by a different company, and so,
it might have been an Android. It was a hand-me-down of some kind.
Congressman Ro Khanna represents Silicon Valley, and he worked with the tech industry for years as an intellectual property lawyer. He thinks we can expect better from incoming members of Congress who are younger, more diverse, and who, at the very least, have been trolled online.
But in terms of holding tech accountable, many of them, I think, are experts in social media. They have larger social media followings than most members of Congress, and they're probably going to want to make sure that we have rules that monitor speech, that allow for expression, but that are making sure that we don't have platforms that are inciting violence or inciting hate.
Khanna is still in his first term, and he doesn't sit on any of the committees, like Energy and Commerce, that oversee this stuff. And with Apple and Google in his district, Khanna won't be advocating for the complete dismantling of Silicon Valley's giants anytime soon. But unlike a lot of his colleagues, Khanna knows what he's talking about. So Nancy Pelosi asked him to write an Internet Bill of Rights, which he released this fall. It's a set of 10 proposed regulations that would give users more control over their data.
I think there are certain things that will pass. The right to know what's happening to your data. The right to have honest ads being disclosed, the right to be able to move your data, portability of data, in a piecemeal way. I don't think that all of my Internet Bill of Rights would pass Energy and Commerce tomorrow, but I do think you're going to see incremental progress.
But how receptive are Republicans in the Senate?
I do think you can get some reasonable compromise on some basic principles. You should have to consent before your data is collected. You should know what's happening to your data. Just like you know what happens when you visit your doctor or when you have a credit report check. You should be able to delete data that's on these platforms. These aren't inherently partisan issues.
Even if Khanna can't get his colleagues on board with every last regulation, he knows there are other ways to keep tech companies in check. You worked with Bernie Sanders on legislation that named Amazon specifically.
Yes.
And Amazon responded, raised wages, without the legislation being passed.
Right.
So do you find that public pressure is more effective than actually passing the regulation?
That's actually a great point. And Bernie Sanders and I said Amazon is $1 trillion company. It's unconscionable that you aren't paying workers enough so that workers are having to rely on food stamps. 3 weeks later, Jeff Bezos acknowledges our legislation and raises wages to $15 an hour. 350,000 Americans got a raise. That's an example of public mobilization. So I think the more public pressure there is, the more hearings there are in Congress, the more legislation that's introduced. Even if it doesn't cross the finish line, it could have the incentive of getting tech companies to take things more seriously.
Thank you for being here.
Jo Aini is retired, but when her town was brought into a new government program, her services were required. Now, she gets paid about $50 a month to watch and record the lives of her 3,000 neighbors, as one of 6 so-called information collectors. China started piloting its social score system in 2015 in villages like this one. Here's how it works. You start with 1,000 points. If you do something bad, you get points docked. If you do something good and you happen to be spotted, you get a boost.
就是我每月，比方说是跟这个小区内哈，听到的这是好人好事啊，我的书写的这上面。
These journals, filled with tales of neighbors helping old people or seen leaving trash in hallways, end up in a local office. A government employee gives each entry a score. The results go public.
这是我们村的王教授，这个保洁员哈，写到了钱包哈，但是他就马上就送到了这个哈陈局会哈，为了大事业哈，现在了戏剧哈，找里面进去，这不是找这里面进去送到局会哈，表扬他吸引部门哈，评级了高下。
On top of that, he got this didn't pocket the money he found trophy. Raising his score could mean more money later, with lower interest loans and discounts on utilities and rent.
你看，我们现在是那个社区里的邻里非常和睦，没有一个是邻里打架的，一个都没有。因为他现在生活也好了，也不至于啊。
Wang Fengbo thinks the system isn't just about the points. It works because people want to save face.
一个这个他既然喝酒回家和老婆俩打架，老婆都打碎了。虽然是你夫妻打架，因为这造成影响也不好，我们也挺媳妇儿。他最后来找我呀，说呀，哎呀，就是俺多少个打架了，然后就写上，因为都要爱面子。你给他写这上，你写好，说你好，哎，你肯定是写了是脸上永远很光彩。 你写的不好，他写了，他那些也不忘的，人还有子女啊。
But the program is more than just public naming and shaming. If someone slips below 1,000 points, even just a little, there are serious consequences.
B 级950分 ，B 级意味着你B 级意味着你将来坐飞机呀、高消费呀，或者是什么贷款呐都不能做了，都不可以。
Zhang Yingjie co-signed a loan for a friend who later skipped out. He paid his share, but the local court didn't care.
我前2天去淄博，赶上暑假没有票了，我就得买这个头等舱。结果是说你信用度不够，不能买头等舱。我回来没办法，不能还是没有座位，回来坐这个大巴。高铁不是3个小时4个小时就到了，大巴车得10个多小时。
4 million people have been blocked from buying high-speed train tickets over low social credit, and more than 11 million from buying flights. To raise his score, Zhang gets in line at a local community office to donate money the government says will go to charity.
捐100的居多，再有捐1000的、600的、500的都有，都可以加分。
Zhang keeps track of his social score closely, but he doesn't keep track of where his donations end up.
你这个具体给谁完了钱？你问具体得问他，我也不知道这个事。
手写字。
我现在已经通过训写，通过捐款啊，通过做义工来给自己加分。
The system might have caused him to suffer, but Zhang is unwavering in his support for the government's push to score him.
这是通过这种制度来约束很多不自觉的人。
By 2020, China plans to track, rate, reward, and punish all of its citizens, essentially turning every personal experience into a transaction. Not that Zhang minds. He's got his high score back. At least for now.
现在通过做好人好事，通过这个捐款呐、加分呐，我现在高铁票能买了，终于成为是正常人了。
is not available.
John Eldon spent the week of Thanksgiving making phone calls from his mom's house in LA.
Hello, I'm trying to reach Anthony Faison.
Eldon is a lawyer who runs a one-man nonprofit named after innocence.
Oh, it's a personal matter, so I wanted to speak with him directly.
With a little help from volunteers, he's tried to find out whether the 2,346 people listed in the National Registry of Exonerations got money for their time in prison, either through a lawsuit or government compensation.
Hi, I'm trying to reach Douglas Varney.
I'm afraid you have the wrong number.
Sorry.
If so, he finds out whether they paid taxes and helps them apply for a refund before the IRS stops accepting applications on Monday.
At the tone, please record your voice message.
We knew that we were looking for a needle in a haystack because we knew that of this group of exonerees who got money, it was only a tiny number of them who had actually paid taxes. Problem is, we didn't know which ones, so we'd have to go and survey them all.
Why are you doing this?
I get to talk to people who have been through something horrific, and I get to bring some amount of help.
Every now and then, Eldon finds who he's looking for.
I was looking for Dan True, who was in the Navy, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Congress changed the law about money received in connection with wrongful conviction and basically clarified that it's not taxable by the IRS. And they made that rule retroactive.
Because that would really help me out. I had to pay like $5,000 or something like that, and I just whipped out my credit card, and I still have that on my credit card. I never really paid it off.
So the next step will be I will connect you directly to a large law firm that has offered to do these cases for free. They will take care of the filing, including the postage, everything. You'll pay nothing.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much, son.
Sure.
Thank you.
Wrongful convictions may have gotten a lot of attention in recent years, but very little of it has gone to what happens after people get out of prison. The way exonerees are compensated is often inconsistent and arbitrary, and more often than not, their needs are neglected. That explains why Congress didn't think to let people know they were entitled to thousands of dollars in back taxes.
Pretty much everyone, I think, would agree that if someone can prove to the satisfaction of the system, right, that they were in prison for something they didn't do, we should be providing them something reasonable, meaningful, and helpful. And the sad reality is that if you look around the country, that's not what we're doing.
Should Congress have done something differently so that these people actually knew that they were entitled to this tax relief, so that you wouldn't have to be, scouring the country to look for all of these needles in haystacks, as you refer to them?
Part of the great difficulty of exonerees after release is that we haven't been paying attention to exonerees after release. So it's not so much of a surprise. There was a disconnect. And I'm hoping that the problem of wrongful conviction will continue to command more attention so that we ask more questions like, who's going to notify these people? If I told you that you were eligible for...
But for now, the only answer to that question is John Eldon. Eldon has called some 600 exonerees around the country and helped around 50 of them file for refunds, which range from a couple thousand to $500,000.
Found one. In fact, found two.
One day you are arrested for a murder you know nothing about.
Two of them are Mark Cantor and Terry Moore.
We spent 8 years, 5 months, and 21 days incarcerated together.
Among those charged were 35-year-old Terry Moore and 24-year-old Mark Cantor.
Arrested for a crime we didn't commit, both arrested within hours of each other, back in April of, I don't remember the year.
April 1988.
88.
What is it that you were accused of doing?
First-degree premeditated murder and conspiracy to commit.
When Mark and Terry's convictions were overturned, they sued and settled for a little over $1 million each.
I'll never get over this as long as I live.
They were both diagnosed with PTSD. Then their lives took very different turns.
I gotta stand up for a minute.
Where's the one that doesn't work?
Terry went back to his life as a small businessman.
I've had a lot of people tell me that one of the things that happens to somebody who's been incarcerated is you get out and you think you have to make up for lost time. So you become a workaholic and you work all the time.
Would you say that that's how you dealt with some of...
Exactly.
You want these right here, sir? Yeah, that's fine.
But Mark was younger and rowdier than Terry. He used the money to start a business and help his family. But then he fell into old habits.
I started using drugs, as a coping mechanism from the trauma in this case. I got in trouble. So a lot of that money that was not used for drugs went to attorneys and to the legal system. Eventually, the money ran out.
Both Mark and Terry qualify for tax refunds, which they learned from John Eldon.
Actually, when he first notified me of it, I was very suspicious of it, thinking that it was just an outright scam.
That's probably where we're going now, right?
I'm assuming so.
But actually getting the refund isn't easy. Terry hasn't found the 16-year-old tax returns he needs to apply. Thankfully, he doesn't really need the money. Mark, on the other hand, is newly sober, broke, and leaning on Terry for help. Mark's accountant told him that if the refund goes through, he could get more than $100,000.
I actually have legal expenses and medical expenses. To have those burdens lifted, would be of great benefit.
Let's say it's even more than what you expected. Is that enough?
For me, it'll never be enough. There's no amount of money that cannot do what they did to me.
It's tattered, the old carpet's still in, and the cash register's still there, but everything else is gone. Looks very empty. Very, very sad, for sure. My name is Don Fisher. I worked at Sears from November 1987 until May of this year, 2018. I shopped at Sears often, along with my parents when I was younger. I was very fond of the store, so I went into a store near my house and applied for a position there. So when I first started with the company, well, I was just a young kid. I was about 18, and I sold appliances for a majority of my career as a commissioned salesperson. What really made Sears really, really great was that knowledgeable sales associate at the appliance department. As a customer, when you walk in, they're going to be friendly, they're going to be knowledgeable, and they're going to be attentive. That's what really carried and drove our company. The person I'm married to now, I met originally my first year working at Sears back in 1987. So 30 years ago, I met my future wife.
And then our best man at the back there, Jim, I knew him from when we worked at Sears too.
When I transitioned from a sales associate to management, I was able to see into the P&L, profit and loss, and how much we pay in expenses and, the bottom line. And as I got more and more experience with the P&L, I really learned that it didn't look so great. What's happening now with the recent, filing of bankruptcy for the company, and it's still sad to me. I mean, I still know people that are going through what I went through. There was just a steady decline of footsteps, the amount of transactions that we were doing, and the amount of money we were making was getting less and less and less. I just felt like a captain of a sinking ship where I'm trying to bail out water with a cup. When we have to close down the store, it's not just eliminating that money loss, it was also affecting a lot of lives. I had to be not only a manager, I also had to be a counselor. I had to talk to people that really didn't have, that next thing to do, didn't have a plan, and they didn't know what they were going to do. That was tough because I had, people upset and cry and made me cry, and I told myself that it was necessary, but I still get emotional. It still bothered me, and it's just very tough when you're not making a difference. Sears was all I known for all my whole adult life, and I didn't quit on a whim. I mean, it took months it just got to a certain point that I just couldn't do it anymore. It just felt like it was really tough. I felt like I was failing. All the years that I performed well and kept moving up in the company, it felt like I failed at the end.